Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
I mean, I had a friend that I saw his true colors and I saw his true colors and I saw his true colors, and I still thought that I was helping him. I thought everything I was doing was helping him. When it wasn't, it was enabling him. It was enabling him to continue to abuse me.
Yeah.
And when I finally said, "That's it, I'm done," he got very angry. He got very mad. He started yelling, screaming, and swearing and stuff. And I knew I made the right decision when he made the comment that he had always been there for me. And my response was, "Where is the evidence in that?" And it caught him off guard. He's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "I'm sure you can list off the top of your head at least a dozen times where I have stopped what I was doing, come to pick you up, gave you money, bought you food, paid for a hotel room so you had somewhere to stay, da 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 da. Name one time where you did something for me without asking." And he couldn't. And he went right back to yelling, screaming, and swearing at me. And I had to completely block him on social media, remove 2 email accounts, and change my phone number because of it. But yeah, we think we are helping when actually we're enabling, and that's a very hard lesson to learn. So the fact that you
100%.
were able to see that when you did in contact number 10, I saw the red flags with this guy back on like call number 2, and we remained friends for a year before finally I said I
Yeah.
was done. I can't take this anymore.
Yeah, now I hear you. And it's funny because like that was actually a consistent pattern that I was going through, not just in romantic relationships, but also in work relationships as an
Yeah,
entrepreneur or with business partners. Like that is something that I definitely continued to go through, and I was enabling instead of allowing people to grow or allowing people to put their best foot forward. Allow.
right,
See, there's a and like it's still a bit of control, I guess, whatever. But like to be fair, there is a difference between allowing somebody to do their best and forcing them to do their best. And
yeah,
I had to understand there is a very fine line because you can allow somebody to do their best, but that still means you hold your boundaries,
right.
right? For instance, Skylar tried to come back,
Hmm.
and we weren't having that, right?
I mean, not the one friend that I talked about that I had this, he's not a friend anymore. I haven't had any contact with him in several years now. Um, but there are friends from high school that looking back, I can see where they were not healthy relationships.
No, and if we kind of like, I'm not saying cut because here's the thing: sometimes you
Yeah,
can't cut them off.
you can't cut all ties and everything, but you can choose to distance yourself
Yeah,
in a safe and respectful manner that lets them know that as an individual, like I said before, as an individual, I still love you. I just don't love what you're doing.
exactly. And on top of that, it's so important to not only like respect the other person,
Hmm.
right? But sometimes in a piece of grace, this is what I've learned, regardless if they scream, yell, or hate me later, right?
Right.
Which is usually what happens after you stop enabling anyone. It's
Yeah,
just a common thing. Even kids do it to their parents. Like
right.
essentially giving them the feedback as to what they could have done better, what they could do better for somebody else in the future, so that they could have a, I don't know, just for instance, I remember this one person, I was like,
I could have done the thing where I was like, all right, I'll ghost by, which is a common thread thing now, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Fuck it, that is fine. We could do that. But I don't like the reason
Yeah.
being there is a level of sincerity and integrity that's important because you might see that person again. It's going to be more awkward when you see them again,
Yes.
most likely. And just how the universe works, it likes to do that. So it's best to always share what you can, create value based off of what happened, um, with whatever needs to be said to close out that chapter and move forward, and then keep your boundaries straight. The person decides to understand this is the new way to treat you, great. If they don't normally stick around.
True. And then it's their choice. And you are not responsible for anyone else's choice.
It's also a really empowering, awkward point.
Yes.
Because in that moment of just like, I'm good. It's still very awkward because it's different. And at this, because it's a growth point, right?
Right.
Being able to resist the old pattern of enabling. Because a
And
lot of us mix up being good with enabling versus just sharing what needs to be said.
it's a lesson for all of us.
Mhm.
And I really do think that, at least for me, these conversations about us touching base on awkwardness and recognizing moments of growth in our lives helps me realize that even if it sucks right now, it's going to get better.
Yeah, and it does. It just takes a little bit of time. And you do feel stronger. Like I think this year was the crazy I had such a crazy roller coaster in the first 6 months of this year. Like I'm still thinking about it and thinking like, how the heck did I do that? What? What? How? And just like moving through those obstacles, motions, keeping faith, under just like letting go of fears and just feeling a little bit internally stronger. Lord, like like I'm saying that in more of like I'm Buddhist. I don't really believe in a Lord, but like, but more in
It just
the
isn't a oh, isn't a wow, I can't believe it kind of mentality, kind of
like
thought
wow's.
process.
All right, let's go through the verbiage that I use, even though I'm like I look like I'm 12. Hullabaloo, all of that hullabaloo that could have given me a hernia. Just, ah, my dog is adorably trying to fall asleep as I'm like expressingly just sharing how crazy the situations have been and just understanding like we're all going through something different.
Right.
But now there is like a sense of compassion as we go through each struggle, which is actually really beautiful and amazing to have.
Yes, learning to tell the kinder story.
Let me ask you a question, Katie.
Okay.
Oh, wise Katie.
Uh-oh. Showing my age.
For sure. Just pick me four and be wise. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. I know some very smart toddlers.
There you go. If somebody needs help and they've done everything under the sun to hurt you, do you help them?
I have to say it depends.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because I actually have to look at what it is that they're asking.
I mean, I'm not all right.
Most of the time, the answer is going to be, let me refer you to somebody who can. It is
Let's take
not going to be me doing the helping.
that's a good one. Let's take money off the table. Like
Okay.
they don't need help with money. They need maybe emotional support.
Let me refer you to somebody.
Wow, okay.
I have learned that it has to be that. At
Okay.
least if I'm thinking about like this one friend who turned out to be absolutely abusive and not a good guy. If he reached out to me today, I'm glad to hear that you're still alive and breathing. You need to use this resource. I cannot help you.
That is fair.
And as much as it sucks, because I can think of so many people who were not on a scale of how bad they treated me, might not have been that bad or only a smidge bad towards hurting me or whatever. I'm thinking everyone would get that response.
So I was actually thinking about that this morning. Have you ever watched Phantom of the Opera?
Love that musical.
Wonderful musical. And in the movie as well, it is fantastical. There's
Yes.
a moment in that movie where Christine, is in the trenches of the opera house, and the Phantom is about to kill her lover, right?
Right.
And in a moment she goes like, "You poor thing, what kind of world have you known? Because how could you be this awful if
And
if this
what would
if
happen
this
if I showed you this one act of kindness and true love?
exactly?" And in that moment, he lets them go, right?
Yes, and that is an amazing gift
To have that much compassion.
to have that much compassion. But I know, well, I don't know because I didn't write the play. Andrew Lloyd Webber is a fantastic person. But if it was me, I have been in situations where I have done that. Okay, I will forgive you absolutely everything, and I will do this one act of love to help you.
Mhm.
And it opened up the door to more.
Yeah.
I'll just say more enabling. I'm not going to get into details. So there might come a time in my life where there is an individual where this scenario plays out, where they turn out to be cruel, and I decide to do one act of compassion to show them that there is still good in the world. But my act of compassion is probably going to be, I am glad you are alive. Thank you for telling me. Let me point you into the direction on for you to get the resources that you need to take care of whatever it is.
And to
Because
be fair,
I personally can't do it.
yeah, and to be honest, that's still helping them in a way, but not necessarily where you're being left vulnerable to be depleted. So
Right.
there is a difference. There is a huge difference. And I
Yeah.
honestly think that is actually a really good way to create value, in the essence of like, you responded, they're not alone. They can get help there somewhere else. And that's fine.
And learning to be okay with that myself.
Exactly.
It's a new
I
lesson.
cried about that. Oh my gosh.
I'm getting ready to cry about it right now, and I'm throwing my crochet hooks around my office today.
I'm sorry. It's something that I actually cried about recently. I was like, there is one person who I know I can help where they need help or whatnot, right? And I know
Mhm.
it exactly the way to help that individual that I know nobody else knows how to. That one's rough. Like for like
That one's rough because if, like, say, for example, if it was a task that only I know steps 1 through 5 to get it done, then I might have to find some way to whoever I refer them to find out what those steps are. So then I'm still providing the information, but the person who needs the help is not getting the information from me because I have to protect myself. So I will share my knowledge with another tech support person. Just because I'm using that as my example. So then that way they can help John Doe, instead of me helping John Doe directly. Because if I open up that door, I don't know if my boundaries are strong enough.
I hear you. And it's actually really important to also understand they actually can help themselves. Like that was
Yeah.
something like I wanted to help that person so badly. And I cried about it too. But
Hmm.
in that moment, I remembered, I'm like, they can do it. If I've been able to do it, they can do it. They can do it on them. They can do it themselves. They know how to do it, or they'll figure it out. And
And
that's sometimes you just have to believe in people.
and just providing them with the point them in the right direction, and that whole teach them to fish instead of feeding them.
Yeah, that
You
one.
know, it's a tough lesson because it's so easy to be like, let me just take care of that for you.
And
But
that's
that
also the
doesn't
reason.
empower them.
Exactly. You have to kind of like, in my opinion, empowering somebody is the best lesson. Some people have come back to you, like, will come back to me and be like, hey, thank you so much for the hard advice. It really did help me.
Right.
Like that kind of stuff. Or, for instance, like the fact that person was yelling at
Mhm.
you, they'll still remember what you said.
I will never
One
know.
day. Well, it's there in the subconscious. They heard it. It's there.
It's there in the subconscious, and I hope that something positive works out for that John Doe.
Exactly. And it will. And on that note, on the awkward moments of growth, sometimes those moments of waiting and the patience before the growth happens, it is awkward, but right afterwards, it's pretty empowering.
And it's amazing what we can do when we are empowered.
Exactly. And thank you so much for coming to Touched and Empowered, ladies and gentlemen. I
Thanks for
appreciate you all
another
for
fun
listening.
episode. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Join us next week for more of the discussion. Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.